Welcome to the first video of the new series that I'm calling The History of Science. If you have ever wondered who people like Einstein, Galileo or Aristotle were, but don't know what they did, this is a perfect beginning to your curiosity. This video is specifically on the history of gravity. All are well aware of the apocryphal of an apple falling on the head of Sir Isaac Newton, which led him to the discovery of gravity. But it was not just an apple that fell on him that made him realize that there is a force pushing everything towards the earth. It was actually centuries of scientific work of people like Aristotle, Democritus, Plato, Kepler, Tycho Brahe, and so forth. Our story of gravity begins not from Sir Isaac Newton. Actually, we have to rewind time back to 300 years before Christ in the mountains of ancient Greece with a person named Aristotle. He is literally the father of everything we study, whether it be ethics, logic, biology, or even political science. Aristotle figured out the physical world in his own explanations. According to him, our universe contains 4 elements: fire, water, air, and earth. He reasoned that each element wants to return to its natural state. For fire, it is the sky, and so was for the air. Therefore, when a log of wood is burnt, the fire and smoke move upwards. And when any solid object is released in air, it moves downward. He argued that greater the mass, greater is the velocity with which the object falls. This is the first known definition of gravity. The statement set forth a subject which came to be known as Aristotelian physics. Aristotle just did not stop here. He also saw the sky and made reasonable explanation in his own terms. Aristotle therefore structured his universe in concentric spheres and placed each planet, sun, or celestial body in a particular sphere, with Earth being in the center of the cosmos. He explained that each sphere is rotating at different rates, which causes the celestial body in the sphere to orbit or move at different velocities. It is important to understand that at that time of history, the universe was thought to be geocentric. Geocentrism was the idea developed by early philosopher of the time, Ptolemy, which said that the Earth was at the center of everything and was stationary, and everything revolved around it. Now, there was one problem with geocentrism, which was the retrograde motion of the stars. Now, retrograde was an apparent deviation of the orbit of stars from its original trajectory. What Aristotle had said, that the spheres moved at their own velocities, was very much opposite to what was being observed by the astronomers. This was the main issue with the geocentric model. This was common knowledge for centuries, and this knowledge was adopted by the Christian philosophy until the advent of Renaissance. Now the history of science, or then known as natural philosophy, has moved from the plateaus of Greece, meddling through the Islamic world, has now spread through the Europe. Renaissance is a French word meaning rebirth. It was the period marked by Europe's transition from Dark Ages to Enlightenment in science, art, music, architecture, and so on, with people like Galileo, Kepler, Shakespeare, Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, René Descartes, and so forth. One of the most important figures in history of science would be Nicholas Copernicus, the man who started scientific revolution that became known as Copernican revolution. Copernicus was a mathematician, economist, astronomer, and a physicist. He was a man who was very close to his God. Funnily enough, he also developed the heliocentric model of the solar system. Heliocentrism is the idea that the sun is placed in the center, very much opposite to what Pope and Christianity believed at that time. In fear for being termed as blasphemous, Copernicus did not advocate this theory. In fact, he published his work revolutions of the celestial spheres in the same year he died. And even in the book, he had a preface written by his friend that explicitly stated that the heliocentrism is just a hypothesis, not a fact. Copernicus himself dedicated the book to the Pope. However, in this book, he explained how the sun isn't the one that rises, but it is the revolving of the earth that causes the day and night, and how the long problem of retrograde can be solved by heliocentrism. This book stirred a revolt-like situation in the whole of Europe, mainly among theologians and theocrats. The book influenced people like Kepler and Galileo to further revolutionize our understanding of the universe. But this is for the next video.